Good evening, and welcome to One World, One Blood Bowl at number 13, the pre-UKTC show. That's sort of the overarching title of what I'm calling it tonight, because I have three, colossi of the world of Blood Bowl from completely different corners of it on this evening, and all sorts of things we could be discussing. But the one thing we all have in common is all four of us are going to the UKTC in a week's time to play some tabletop. So I thought that's definitely one thing we can have linking us together. But in a fortnight that also saw new Norse released, I think we're going to touch on those a little bit. Just a little bit because it is happening, but it's all very new. We're not 100% certain on stuff going on there. And just talk about in general lots of tabletop stuff coming up. The World Cup has been announced for 2023. Euro Bowl, the teams are filling up there now, so that's another team-based event like the UKTC that we're all going to. And of course, the NAF Championships are on the horizon too, and plenty of people will be headed over to those. So I think there's going to be a real tabletop theme to this evening, but also we have some diverse Blood Bowlers with us, so I want to talk with them about anything they want to talk about at the same time. I'm thrilled to have on Glowworm, the linchpin, the kingman of the Squad Chaos Discord server and charity drive and group, taking, I believe, 6 teams up to the UKTC, Squad Chaos, so a huge responsibility on those broad shoulders up there. Joe Manji, author of the Iron Manji Rules, a noted streamer, content creator, thinker, one of the huge brains of the Blood Bowl world. Secretly, I would call him Mr. Meta, the man behind the England NAF team's success. So I'm looking forward to picking his brain as to the state of the current meta, as to how team tournaments should work, and a question even from Phil from Purple Goo, as to what the good size for a team tournament is. Is 4 in a team, 8 in a team? What's the good size for a team with the World Cup coming up? So those are some things I want to cover there. But let's start by first of all saying hello to Misspelled Tree, who I'm delighted to have on. I've been waiting a couple of months for a Sunday where we could get together, so thank you. Misspelled Tree, if you don't know her, then where have you been? She's got, I've noticed today, 1,400 follows on Twitch. I think the quickest growing Twitch streamer we've seen in the last couple of years by far. Notable for her Rebel successes, for repeated Chalice qualifications with Wood Elves, but other races also, looking really, really dominant and competitive across them. One of the stars of the England team in the National All-Stars things that happened recently. And now, of course, launching onto the world of tabletop. I believe there's a podcast and a YouTube behind you as well. Blood Bowl, Misspelled Tree, how much of your life is this taking up?
I feel like you just really tried to build me up there because you've got 2 people here who've actually done much more in the community. But thank you, PC. I We were just sort of talking about this before we came on. I was someone who I played a little bit of Blood Bowl tabletop. I with some friends in a local league, and I joined. When I moved to the city I now live in, I found a league down here, just a new way to make friends, meet some new people, and it was just sort of a casual, among other tabletop games I played, hobby, tabletop, board games I played. I don't play any of that. It's the only game I play with miniatures. But then the pandemic came along, and it was well, I'm at home a lot and I haven't got anything to do. And so I was trying it a bit more online. I didn't really like it until I found streaming. Once I found streaming and you could sort of chat to people while you could do it, that I think made it a much bigger part of my life. I think, to be fair, I said that. I think I was playing in Rebel before the pandemic came along, but it was still Rebel was just one game a week. Whereas once the pandemic came along, it was right, I'll stream it. And then once you start streaming it, you find other streamers who are doing it and who are making it fun. And then discover that CCL doesn't have to be totally awful, because I thought the CCL previously was completely awful. I couldn't understand why people did it. Once there people to chat to and people to make it a social experience, I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things I've tried to be talking about in One World, One Blood Bowl all the time, isn't it? Is that every little pocket has these stereotypes of all the other little pockets of Blood Bowl.
Yeah, completely. I sometimes feel I have to even now, I preemptively, no one's even said anything, I want to defend Rebel, because I feel like people always, there's a CCL Rebel thing that goes on with people who don't like each other. Rebel's wicked, and so is CCL, and both of these things can be great.
Yeah, I mean, these are, again, 2 sides of the same coin, aren't they? One is very much structured league play, really well organised, and the other one is the more open but chaotic, do what you want ladder, set your own schedule. And that
Mm.
appeals to two different people, but again, it's just Blood Bowl. We are playing the same game. Though there, of course, it's both different types of Blood Bowl too, but even there, the differences are huge as well as the similarities.
Mm.
But it's all still Blood Bowl. I get very confused by the pockets. So the social aspect and the streaming aspect and the playing are sort of coming hand in hand with you, it sounds like.
Yeah, like, well, this is what I was saying to the guys before we started. Like, I think for me, like, when I was at the beginning of the pandemic, I was living with someone, but it was someone who's lovely but very, very introverted. And quite quickly, as quite a sociable person, I started to find, myself feeling quite trapped within the four walls. And actually, like, Blood Bowl became quite an important outlet for me to stay sane, was having people to go and talk to, play a Blood Bowl game, and you've got people to chat to, have a natter, and like along the way got better at it, which was nice. But like, yeah, I think at some point it was just really nice having Blood Bowl to like go and do that with. Um, and I mean, now I live on my own, like, but that's great because I wanted to live on my own. I've got my own place. But it's still like that. I mean, the world's a bit more open now, and I'm sort of even now actually I've sort of been struggling with that. Like, what's the right balance to strike between online time and time back in the real world? Because I feel like a lot of us are trying to work that out again, like the balance between being places and doing things and the things we got used to doing in the last 2 years. But I'm super, super excited to be going to UKTC this weekend. I wasn't like a massive tournament goer before the pandemic, but I did do one um one tournament week. I can't remember what the tournament was. A weekend away in England, and I did the Tabletop World Cup. And the Tabletop
Yes.
World Cup was one of the most fun experiences I've had in any sort of board game thing. Like, it was just so much, and it was a disaster. Like, the whole thing was so badly organized, and the middle part of it, like the matchmaking fell over, and we sat in this conference room in the middle of nowhere for ages. And when we went out afterwards, like, all the restaurants were closed 'cause it was a small town, and it was still a wicked time because you just had all these people from all over the world who like wanted to do the fun nerdy hobby together, and like people brought costumes and things to trade, and like, yeah, it was really fun.
I mean, it's the one thing I have yet to cross off is to travel internationally or to go to one of those really big parties, the Euro Bowl or the World Cup. You're selling it very hard, is it? Are you certain? I mean, the new one's been announced. Are you already thinking, how do I get there?
I am, although it's Alicante, and I'm like, if I go to Alicante, how long is it going to take me to regret? Much as I love Blood Bowl, how long is it going to take me to regret being stuck inside losing a game of Blood Bowl when I could be on the beach having a drink? Like, that's a challenge that I've got to work out. But I do really want to go. Like, I really think that sounds really fun.
Yes, I weirdly had someone just contact me out of the blue and say, I hear you are putting a team together for the World Cup. Please save a space. I'd love to come. And I thought, well, I'm not, but should I be?
If
Um,
you haven't done one, I think it was. I can't explain how much fun it is. It's just a bit like it's people from all over the world who like Blood Bowl. I mean,
it does feel like there are some serious negotiations with other powerful brokers within my world and life before I'm free to just take that decision. But it's a conversation I've already begun with the beloved Mrs. Purple, and she wasn't entirely against. So we'll see.
it's Alicante. Like,
It is
make it a
that's
fun
the
holiday.
upside.
Like, combine it.
She was. We had looked at going to the Greek Open in Athens and doing a 4-day trip so that we could spend a couple of days, exploring together. And then she was looking at a day going off to the islands while I played Blood Bowl. She could, abandon and disavow me. So there are deals to be done there. I don't know. I'm certainly going to look at it. So tabletop is that is it? Are you trying to take over all of Blood Bowl, or are you just trying to have those experiences? Are you as serious about tabletop as you are about your streaming and your worlds?
I feel no. I'm for instance UKTC this weekend. Like, or next weekend, whenever it is, 7 days, less than a
Yes.
week's time.
A week's time it'll be finished. We'll be heading
um,
home.
Yeah, I'm taking goblins, which I've not played in the new rules at all because I think that'll be fun. So like, I'm not going to most places thinking I'm going to win. I'm nowhere near good enough to beat like the really good tabletop players.
What a
And I
fantastic
think
segue into the last One World One Blood Bowl, which was all about coaching goblins in the 2020 rule set. So do feel free to have a watch of that. I got some big brains in and asked them how we get that sorted because they're not doing very well. But I sort of see your point. I looked at them for the UKTC. I think they've got a great rule set there. What's your thing? What are you trying to do with them?
Um, so to be honest with you, like I haven't worked out the new rules that much. Like I've basically just played Underworld in the local, like literally the local league we have where I live, and they're obviously pretty good Underworld. But like I've looked at these rules and I felt like there's going to be a lot of dwarf teams because dwarfs you just don't need to put much on them, and you've kind of got to either lean into, I feel like that guard heavy bash thing, or you've got to lean into fouling. And fouling's fun for the first thing. I just had a really fun season with Goblins and Rebel. I got the Stunty Cup, which was amazing.
Oh, well done.
And also is the only team where I was like, well, you're going to start with Dirty Player on the Hooligan, but then you just need to add a normal skill to get a sneaky git, and everyone else is just going to have their sneaky git foulers, but you can have a sneaky git Dirty Player. And I kind of worked it all out backwards from there, but I think that actually, like, low key, the rules are really good for them because you
Yeah,
can
I do.
stack skills and you can stack even stats, as far as I understand it. So, like, there's some really fun ideas to be had there messing around.
Well, I will leave you to your mettering. But obviously, I expect to see a hooligan putting the hurt on
There'll
all
be an
sorts of things for sure.
hooligan.
And my top tip, obviously, is avoid the Doom Diver. They are sadly now trash. Much missed. The final thing I wanted to talk to before I do want to move on to the other guys, obviously. I was on your channel earlier today, and I thought one thing that really struck me, and a couple of us were talking about it, was I feel there's a definite atmosphere on your channel, and it's hearing you talk about goblins and with the camera. Thank you very much for that. I feel I am, shilling for Logitech here,
It's
getting
true,
people to buy
yeah.
cameras.
Finally got me to turn my flipping camera on.
But it's always there's always a very relaxed atmosphere when you Blood Bowl. Is that deliberate?
I just look. I think I've had some super mardy streams. Like last season when my Wood Elves started to go off the rails, I had a stream that I sort of quit in a huff. So like I feel like I get in a mardy mood sometimes playing Blood Bowl, but I'm just not like I, first of all, it is a pastime, and you're like you want it to be fun. If it's not fun in the big picture, I wouldn't play it. Like I know everyone has bad days of Blood Bowl, but like if
Yeah.
it's not fun in the big picture, I wouldn't do it. But also like that's just kind of how I am. Like I'm quite like a chilled out person most of the time, I think. I hope.
Well, I mean, I think you're a very different force in the Twitch community, and I think that's great. I think it's great that we have different atmospheres out there. People playing great Blood Bowl, but in a sometimes a more relaxed, happy atmosphere, and perhaps not seeming to grind quite as hard. I don't know. It just always feels quite chilled there. I've heard one person describe it as the Kumbaya channel. Does that is that offensive? Is that okay?
I I don't really like kumbaya is like a word that I get like people go like, oh kumbaya, but like I don't really know what it means. So I if I should be offended by it, I'm not
I
gonna
think
be
it just
offended.
means quite warm and huggy and relaxed, and everyone's nice.
Well then I'm not offended because yeah, that sounds fine.
Glow, let's talk about being nice. You're nice, aren't you? Aren't you Mr. Nice from Blood Bowl?
I'm
Putting your
I'm
arms around
lovely.
us all and giving us cuddles.
I'm not Peter D nice, but I am nice. Peter D being the nicest coach in Blood Bowl, and anybody that says differently will have to answer to Peter D for that.
Now, we were talking pre-stream about you doing something called Glow Ross, which was you doing some comedy
Oh yeah,
and throwing that
oh
out
yeah.
there for the Squad Chaos Massive and everyone else. And the need just to sometimes just put a smile on our face and realise we're trying to have fun. This is a game that we play.
It's a game.
But what's Squad Chaos about? Because Tree was asking us earlier, and I said, no, hold up, let's talk about that on the stream. I know we've mentioned it before when we had Thor on, but let's recap. Who are Squad Chaos? What is that flag behind
Squad
you? Are you taking over?
Ooh, we've got a flag, so we must be a country. We've got a flag. Squad Chaos is a collective. It's open to everybody, whether you play Blood Bowl or not. In fact, my wife, who has never rolled a dice in anger, is a member of Squad Chaos. And we welcome everybody, irrespective of gender, age, sexual orientation, colour, religion, political views. Everybody's welcome as long as they are nice to each other. That's our only rule is, if you'll excuse the expression, don't be a dick. And we are there for each other. Squad Chaos, the roots of Squad Chaos go back to 2011 and the Amsterdam World Cup. When a group of us, 6 of us, got together, including myself and one of the other captains, Nazgob. I don't think Thor was playing Blood Bowl back then. And we took a team out to Amsterdam, to the Amsterdam World Cup in 2011, and it was Team Chaos. 4 years later, we went off to Lucca, and we took a team there. Again, we had lots and lots of people getting in touch, the same as you're experiencing now, saying we're taking a team to a team event. Is there any chance we can tag along? 4 years later, we took 2 teams to Dornbirn. And Thor, who's, to be honest, he's pretty much the driving force behind Squad Chaos. He's the energetic one. Pushed it forward. We've set up a Discord server. We're on Facebook as well if the people don't use Discord, and you're welcome to join.
So Thor would be more of the Prince Charles, where you're more the Queen, the sort of stately overfigure. Is that what I'm reading here?
If Thor's not going to watch this, then yes, definitely. No, all the captains are important. Rather weirdly, the most understated one's probably Nazgob, who people don't realise is a Squad Chaos captain, but yet he does so much. But all this stuff is in the background. He does all our technical stuff. He audits us because we're raising money for charity, so we like to account for every penny that we raise. So he does all the auditing. He built the website for Thrudball for us. So he's quite an understated captain. But yeah, all 3 of us have our place in it. Thor is probably the guy that comes up with all the ideas. Let's do this, or can we do that? And he pushes forward things on Fumble. And I just run around like a lunatic and get involved where I can, if you'll excuse the expression. And just try and G people up. And because I'm very vocal and a public figure, I'm out there, and it's more, I'd say I'm probably more of a figurehead than anything of anything real use.
But to pin Squad
came along to us a few. Go on.
To pin Squad Chaos down though, so it's this nebulous thing that is doing all sorts of things. There's a podcast, there's a Discord server, there's a community, there are teams that go to events, but it centres around Thrudball, raising money for charity, and particularly important is men's mental health, isn't it? That's
Andy took over Thrudball about 4 years ago from a guy called Frank, who was Giraffe in the community. He was absolutely lovely guy, but he had to step away for some reasons, which are not open to discussion. And Thrudball grew as big as it could when it was held in Bognor Regis, which is a lovely place, but for the majority of the country, far too far to get to. So when we formed Squad Chaos, Andy said, would you like to help me run Thrudball, and we'll make it our flagship event? And we went, yeah, sure. Every good group has a flagship event, and Thrudball became ours. So it's not a massively competitive tournament, although it is a competitive environment. Most tournaments are either ultra competitive or ultra fun. We like to try and settle somewhere in the middle, and we think we're getting the mix about right, as we've had a growth from 96 to 130 coaches sold out in less than 48 hours this year.
Yeah, tournaments are getting bigger. I want to talk to Joe about that, because that's a challenge he's going to be helping us all with, I'm sure, in the near future, as an author of some of the rule packs that tier things and separate us out. Doing that with 30 teams is interesting. Doing it with 150 teams must be a lot harder. So coming on to the UKTC, six teams going up there of 4. That's a lot of people together in Squad Chaos. How do you decide who's in which squad?
We throw it open. We say, who wants to go to the UKTC? And people put the names down, and then we ask if they've got a preference.
Come on, you grab all the good ones for one team, don't you?
I don't know. No, I was just going to say, if they want to be competitive, they probably don't volunteer for my team. Considering I captained the team at the World Cup last year and I took goblins. So, my attitude is, come to a tournament, bring what you will enjoy playing. Unless you're generally somebody like Joe, who's got a genuine chance of winning it, bring a team you enjoy playing, because there's nothing worse than bringing what you think is a competitive team and have your butt handed to you for 6 games or 3 games. Yeah? Bring what you enjoy. And you know what? If you do well with it, that's great. If you don't, you've had 6 games with a team you enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say the same. Obviously, go to a tournament to have fun. And when people say, what skills should I pick? So I say, pick the ones you know how to use. Or what's the meta? Well, the meta is this, but what do you know how to use? What are you comfortable with on your team? Pick that, because you know how to coach it and get the best out of it. It's probably better than you trying to get the best out of something that I would use, but you wouldn't. Very difficult, though.
I'm generally noted for saying, yep, I'm going to this tournament and I'm going to take, like the UKTC, I said, I'm going to take Necromantic. I just fancy taking a Necromantic to the UKTC. And somebody said, well, the rules haven't been finalised yet. And I went, well, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because I'm going to be taking Necromantic. So once they're finalised, I'll build my team. I decide what I'm going to take to a tournament, and then I look at the rules and try and fit it into that.
Have you got
rather
yourself
than the other way
those?
around.
Have you got the NAF badge of all of the teams? Has that been a goal?
No, I got most of them, and then we went into lockdown, and we've come out of lockdown, and I believe the NAF are stopping it now. So, I didn't actually manage to do it. I've got something like 160 NAF Gave with Goblins, though, so I feel that I've probably played against every other team. So I'm sure that counts for. I've been beaten by every other race, so that must count for
I
something.
think surely at 100 Goblin games there should be a special award, and quite possibly some time off for good behaviour. Joe, you've been beautifully silent and quiet. Sorry to bring you in quite so late. Welcome to One World, One Blood Bowl, Joe Manji.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's an absolute privilege to have you here. I described you before as Mr. Meta. I've always been impressed with the Iron Manji rule sets, and I know that the Pearly Kings and Queens has been announced for this. I think it's. I want to say the 9th and 10th of July. 4th and 5th of July. I thought it was the 9th, 10th. But in early July. And they said Iron Manji rules. So that made me excited. I thought that means Joe thinks he's worked out the 2020 rule set. He's got season 2 licked. He knows what should be where, what's powerful, what isn't. Let's get him on the show, pick his brains, and he can help me get the wins. So that's obviously the real reason you're here. But is it okay for me to describe you, before we get into all of that, as Mr. Meta, the tactical genius behind Team England's NAF success?
I think that's probably inaccurate. I think there's lots of other good people on Team England who know what they're doing, and they don't need my help. But we do have good talks about stuff. But I would suggest that everybody is quite capable and on that team.
Do those talks take place where you take them into a quiet garden somewhere? Are we talking Game of Thrones talks?
No, it's not like that at all, actually. Everybody on Team England knows what they're doing, and they don't. There's not a huge amount of need for talks or help or suggestions. Once you get to that point, people aren't taking huge amounts of input. Quite rightly so, I think, because having some confidence in yourself and knowing what you want to do is more important, perhaps, than what someone else thinks you should be doing.
But you have been examining the meta behind Blood Bowl for a long time. I think that's something you get passionate and interested in.
Yeah, I think as a team, England's success has been mainly down to analysing the meta best and picking the best races and things like that. I think that's what we always put our success down to. There's always 5 or 6 teams definitely take, and then there's a couple more that are on the edge, and we always seem to, I think, get the nudge on that bit more than some of the other teams. Well, at least I think that's why we've done well.
So some of those floaters that have been at the bottom of a tier or the top of a tier, it's finding the ones that have got that advantage in this particular tiering set that might be that little bit stronger.
Taking the right skills on the normal teams as well. I think a lot of the mainland continental teams are a little bit more bashy, so they sometimes focus more on things like Mighty Blow. England, well, our success has all just been playing grindy Blood Bowl, just like.
Are we Theresa May? Are we strong and stable?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's like if we win a round, 1 win, 7 draws, that's perfect. We'll take that every single time, and that's what we're looking for, basically.
I see you nodding, Tree. Does this sound exciting? Is this the meta for how we win the UKTC? Everyone gets the draws, and then 1 star goes out there. Collie goes out and gets those wins.
That's it. Draws win team tournaments. That's how you do it. You just got to have, if you have faith in your teammates that someone's going to win a game, you just take a draw all day long.
Interesting. How did 2020 hit you when it landed? I mean, it must be for you have been a seismic shake. Someone that really understood those, how everything is interconnected within Blood Bowl. Someone that writes rule sets and understands those tierings. Will put your name in it and says, yeah, if we tier them like this, everyone's going to have a good time. How did it feel like to suddenly have that ripped away? Was it tricky?
It's really strange, actually, because I'll give a really silly example of what it's like. It's like the biggest change in Blood Bowl 2016 was the size of the board changing and the size of the squares. And I didn't realise how much of my skills or what I was doing was based on like instinctive, reflexive behaviour.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly I was having to relearn everything simply because I couldn't automatically just see a space on the pitch and just know I could go there. And I would find myself like almost leaving gaps and thinking, oh no, I need to actually stop. And it's like conscious, having to bringing your skills back to the conscious level actually makes it a lot harder to play. And that's the problem. Well, not the problem, but that's the challenge in BB20, is actually having to stop. And even if you think you know what you're doing, you have to actually stop and actually think about it properly rather than just instinctively doing it. Because that's the thing I found is that, like, I've actually got too fast playing Blood Bowl. I've had to try and slow myself down because I started just doing everything by habit and by instinct. And I find a lot of the newer the player is, the longer they seem to take as well, which you think would be the opposite way around. You think that once somebody is experienced, then they spend more time thinking. But analysis paralysis is all of this thinking time. If you're confident, you know what you think you should be doing, you just do it, and you don't spend a minute thinking, oh, should I not do it?
Is that a case of, the best swordsman in France doesn't fear the second best swordsman in France? He fears the man that's never held the sword before.
It's not a reflection on...
And spiders.
That is something else, yeah. That's a different thing, but...
Don't trust
it's not a
spiders
reflection on your opponent at all. Even if you're playing like somebody you think is better than you, it's a case of not having doubt in yourself rather than worrying about the other person.
So it's that surety that you've stood on for a decade, just gone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's completely gone. And not because a huge amount's changed, like very little has changed, but because something has changed, you have to stop, think about it, and that's when you get yourself into a pickle, because you have to retreat from the mind palace of confidence back into the reality of having to worry about stuff.
As someone that sees that meta, is it also exciting, though, to think, here's a new puzzle to crack, and I think I can get there ahead of others. I can find those 2%, those slivers of equity that someone was talking about on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I absolutely love it, because the thing about... It's interesting, actually, when people run tournaments with lots of wacky skills, sort of middle coaches think that's going to be advantageous for them, but it's never good for them. The weirder and wackier the rule sets are, the better it is for the better people, because they see it first. And that's what's happened in BB16, is it was completely solved. So because BB16 has been the same rules for 10 years, everybody saw what Purple Goo took, and then they took that. After 5 years, it trickles down.
Just as I started getting into the tabletop scene, there was a bit of a revolution, wasn't there, where some of the Europeans started taking Frenzy on one of their war dancers. And that became very popular in England for about 6 months, and then everyone went back. And that counted as revolution that year in the tabletop scene.
Absolutely.
I looked then and I said, this rule set is ossified. We need change. So even if some of the change is bad, isn't it better that we throw it all up in the air and just see where the hell it lands?
Yeah, there was one tournament that I was quite funny where someone's Wood Elf roster was just a piece of paper with Frenzy not tackle written on it. That was their entire roster. Because that's how ossified it was.
Now that brings us beautifully to Misspelled Tree. Misspelled Tree, Frenzy or tackle on your second Wood Elf war dancer?
I mean, I've never actually played, funnily enough, because I know I'm like known for my Twitch streams as being a Wood Elf player. I've never played them in a NAFSAR tournament, other than I suppose the sort of the World Cup, not World Cup, the whatever it was called, the Nations tournament that you and I were both.
Oh yeah, that thing on BB2, yeah.
But that was different because I personally would never take a Frenzy war dancer unless I can also have Juggernaut. If I can have Juggernaut, yes, I want a Frenzy war dancer, because then I feel like I can use that in quite an aggressive way, and I can sort of use it to be quite sort of... I think I can own a lot of the pitch with it. I think it becomes like... I've borrowed this idea completely shamelessly off Andy Davo. I'm sure lots of you know, who also streams. But I remember watching him ages ago and him talking about having a toolkit in your team, like having a set of like tools to use. And that idea stayed with me. And I remember like when I first tried some Frenzy Juggernaut, I was like, you know what? I didn't used to like Frenzy on a war dancer because it just gets me in traps. But once I know that I've got this and I'm using it as a thing, then I know that I have that threat, and like my opponent has to think about that. So I came to really like that, but I wouldn't take one, I don't think, unless I can have Juggernaut as well. So probably for one-day tournaments or at NAFSA, I wouldn't be that keen on it.
It's just that I do think of you as quite a front foot player, even with the elves.
Sometimes I feel like I'm sort of somewhere, I don't know, I feel like sometimes I do like, I don't know, to me sometimes it feels like Blood Bowl is a real like slow, so quick game. Like you sort of play it slow, play it slow, play it slow. But then when you go, you have to go all the way in. Like you have to like not half-ass it, because otherwise that's when it all doesn't work. You have to no risk it, no biscuit, as I always say on my stream.
So I'm going to bounce back to Joe, but Glow, you looked a little confused as to Andy Davo, or Andy Davo. Tall fella, dark curly hair, English. Plays for Wales on tabletop. Serves
No,
things.
I think I stole it.
Always.
I stole his baby once. I stole his baby at the Euro Bowl. Apart from that, can't remember it
Always
all.
serves things. Like first man in the front that'll
you know
go
what?
surf. That's it. Joe,
And
UKTC. So Misspelled Trees taking goblins. Glow's taking 6 squads. I'm taking 3 Twitch streamers that have never played tabletop before. Which of us is making a bigger mistake?
None of you. None of us are winning that tournament, including my team. So we're all just there to have fun. So
who are you going with? Let's talk about your UKTC. Let's move off the you understanding Blood Bowl better than all of us put together. And let's talk about playing some games on the board. Who's going with you?
My team is going to be Purple Goo, Jim Jiminy, and Indigo. It was a blast from the past. He was a member of Team England back in the day, in the 1980s, as we like to say. But he hasn't played for 5 years. So we're dragging him back out of retirement for the game.
And all of those are Team England players, aren't they?
Yeah.
So not entirely hopeless then.
Sure.
Are you going to fly the flag for England? Are you bringing it home?
Absolutely
not. Okay.
No chance.
Let me pull up a little slide then. I think we can go to a little look. Who should we be looking at for the UKTC?
That's to me again, sorry. I know he's looking.
Why isn't that showing?
That was such a great fade.
I know. I really love a slow, cheesy fade.
Yeah.
There we are. Should be there now. So we've got currently 86 teams. COVID obviously willing. I'm sure we are going to lose a few before the end. I think they max out at 90. So if you are sitting out there thinking, I would love to go to this UKTC and play on a team of 4, I doubt there's still time, but you could always have a go. We have got all the President's Men with Joe Manji right up at the top there, look. In first seeded place, Joe Manji, Jim Jiminy, Indigo, Purple Goo. That is the finest England has to offer. Where should I be looking if not there then? Joe, who's going to win if they're not?
Well, for finest England have to offer, I would look in 2 other places. There is a team from Newcastle with Pipey. They're a really good team. And there is another England team with that renowned Englishman K-Fogged, Podfrey, and Nippy. All 3 England players as well, and they're a really good team.
Okay, so we've got 3 hot English squads in the draw. Who's going to stop them winning? Surely it's the UKTC. A UK team will top it.
I would not have thought so. There is a couple of really tasty-looking teams in there. I didn't see Alfia on the list, but if they're there, then they're strong. There is another Italian team with Spartaco and 3 other Team Italy members, and Team Italy looking really good this year. And then there is the Lutece Noobs with the Wonder Kid Zahiko and the beautiful Eric Banner lookalike Matra Tatik.
So someone's going to come from abroad and take our UKTC away. Is that what you're telling me?
I would put good money on it not being won by an English team.
Wow. Well, you heard it here first. UKTC are dreams in tatters. It will not be coming home. It'll be going overseas, as it has done most years since the UKTC started. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's just the nature. Like when people travel, they come mob-handed. Whereas if it's local to you, you tend to go with your mates, I think, more than trying to focus down.
Now, we did have, talking about that, as I said, we did have a question from the lovely Phil from Purple Goo himself. He wanted me to specifically ask you, let me just find it, I don't want to misquote him, as I do that all the time to deliberate and comedic effect, but this time I thought I'd try and get it right. What are the pros and cons of 4-person teams like the UKTC as opposed to 5, 6, 3, 8? Notably, Euro Bowl has just moved from 3 to 4, which I thought was probably a good thing. I think 3 is a kind of weird number for a team. What do you think? You're Mr. Meta.
So the magic number is 5. Any team tournament of 5 or more, and you are getting a genuine result, I think, of the best team wins. When you're 4 and below, it's more into the realms of the dice are happening. So the whole point of team tournaments, well, there's 2 points. One is the camaraderie. That's the most important thing. Obviously, it's much more fun. But the second thing, in terms of getting a result, is that you're trying to iron out the variance. So when you're playing Eurobowl, you're playing 8 times 6 games, so whatever much it is, which is so many more games than 6 games individually, which means that the variance is squashed down, and then you actually get a true reflection of who is the best or who isn't. I mean, it's still random, still Blood Bowl, but you're getting closer to a reality. And we've done a lot of tournaments. So foreign tournaments, team tournaments tend to be 5 or 6. UK ones tend to be 4. And like Team England have won like 2/3 of the 5 or 6 player tournaments they've been to, and none of the 4-player tournaments they've been to.
So obviously the thing we're not good at is the wrong way of doing it, obviously.
Pretty much.
Makes perfect sense to me. Are we then in danger, like association football, which I'm a fan of falling behind the times? Are the European models, are they building bigger, stronger teams than us?
It's always been the case. France is incredible. Like the depth of quality in France is ridiculous. Like you'll go to Lutèce, which is the big team tournament in France, which is a wonderful event. If you can get to, give it a go. But like every single player there is amazing. Like you'll play on a team who are like the team no reroll, who not a single reroll in the entire squad. Still got the national players from France in the squad. Like you're still playing like top European coaches, even in their fun teams. So it's just relentless, which is good. That's what you want when you travel.
Is this, should we warn Glow and Tree then? Is this the UKTC, I've often said, the toughest field in England in a year? Do you think that's fair?
No, absolutely not. It will be the easiest field in England in a year.
Oh, why?
Because it's got the most casual players. So the hardest tournament you'll go to in England will be a 20-man tournament in a warehouse somewhere that just happens to be all of the England people who just happen to have turned up that weekend. I've played tournaments like that where...
I don't want to go to that one.
Yeah, I've been on the bottom table on the last game and still played Purple Girl or something. It's just like, it's relentless. But in a tournament like UKTC, you'll if you lose one game, you'll be right down the bottom with people who play once a year. So it'll be great.
How does Glow keep his 6 teams all happy when surely one's going to do well and one isn't? There's going to be banter. How does he, as the love father of Squad Chaos, keep these lovely men in one big chunky bundle of love?
I don't think I have anything to tell Glowworm about how to keep people happy. He is much better skilled than me.
Glow, does it worry you?
No, I've got 2 words for you. Alcohol and hugs. That's how we keep Blood Bowlers happy. Alcohol and hugs.
I think in 22 we need to add the word appropriate to hugs.
Yeah. The old concept, as we've said before, the whole concept of Team Chaos is Squad Chaos is going out, having a good time, enjoying yourselves with friends and people, and meeting new people like Tree. I've never met Tree. It'll be great to meet Tree in York. And so that's what the ethos of every one of my teams is. And moving forward, that'll always be Team Chaos's ethos. We are competitive. We've got some very good coaches, some very, very good coaches.
Yeah, it's not just about turn up, have fun, and try not to compete, is it? That would be
we've got some guys. We've got some guys on the fringe of the indie team. I believe that Dave fell as part of Squad Chaos as well. He's on our server, although he obviously never played for us. But we do have some very talented coaches, some very competent coaches. But the majority of guys go to spend time with people we want to spend time with, get away from the real world and into the Blood Bowl universe, which is a totally different. Which is why we all use Blood Bowl names.
Yes. Like, I want to say, don't give up on Andy Davo. I mean, he's obviously for rent. Team Wales bought him. He must be for sale. Tree, we're back to this idea of Blood Bowl uniting us in something that isn't our world, in that escape. Is that what brings us all together tonight, do you think?
I think Blood Bowl is like really fascinating because honestly, like when I first was sort of first brought into it, which was just literally by a friend who I played other board games with, like there was a group of us who used to get together and play board games in a pub when I was living in London sometimes, and someone wanted to play Blood Bowl convinced some of us to come and start doing it with them. And like, I think I only stuck with it at the beginning because to me, like, it was like, oh my God, you can play these games and stupid things happen. And then like you could do a story about it afterwards. Like we had like a WhatsApp group and eventually Discord where we like, writing stories to each other about the games we played, and it was funny. And like to me, the players like these characters because like they develop as well and they get skills and they do things. And like that's where I started with it. And like obviously now I play it in different ways as well. And I play it in sort of more competitive ways. But still, when I listen to Joe talking about like knowing the meta, I'm a bit like I'm not someone who's really thought very hard about like what's like the best things to do. Like I'm sort of know things that I like to do. I know things that I think work for me, but I haven't like planned out rosters in that way and thought that way about like what the sort of the meta is. And like maybe that's not the thing that to me is the most exciting part of it. But I think that's what's cool about Blood Bowl is that there's that side of it and there's like the other end of it, which is the just wanting to do funny silly things with your goblin bomber and stuff like that sort of
Do you not
extent of
sometimes feel, as you buy the
it.
38th catcher of your tree Wood Elf run, that this one is just another interchangeable catcher? They've ceased to have the. I don't
They've
have the
stopped
love for
having
these pieces that I had.
I definitely changed out of that sort of mindset of needing a story for my players at a certain point. In fact, I think I'm quite like I think I'm now when I watch other streamers sometimes I'm like stop worrying so much about your players, they're all gonna die. Like so I think I've gone the other way on that. Like I sort of they're like they all die, just get used to it. Like you're gonna have another player, it'll be fine. But
Sorry, Joe. I have to explain to Joe Manji what sentimentality for the pieces within the game is. Some people see the pieces in the game as things they should care about, and they are attached to them. That's a human thing where you have love for something.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah.
but like
Do you miss the magic, Joe? When did it die for you? When did you stop telling yourself stories and start looking for the 0.1% meta edge?
Well, I mean, I responded to those questions because that's what you asked me, but I would like to add to what both your other guests have said is the most important thing about Blood Bowl for me is the time I get to spend with my friends.
Yeah,
And
100%.
that's why I do it. And that's why I go to so many foreign tournaments because you get to spend more time with your friends and less time playing Blood Bowl. And that's the important part of the weekend is having a beer with your mates.
100%. Endorsed. And obviously I am trying to make fun, to find a lighter moment. But is there a moment looking back? I mean, you must have been a strapping young lad with hair that went to a game shop and bought pieces and rolled dice and went, God, look at this. That one's got a chainsaw. When did that one die? When did you become Mr. 1%?
It's so long ago I can't remember, I think is the real answer to that question. But yeah, there's more than one way to enjoy a game, I think. Like, I've been branching out the last few years since lockdown into other games, and you're quite right. It's a lot of fun not knowing what you're doing. And you do feel more involved, and like the journey of learning and discovering and losing is really enjoyable. But there's also enjoyment in just playing it very strictly as a competitive game. So it's nice. It's nice to be at both ends of the learning scale.
Yeah, I mean, some people play around with a guitar their whole lives and never get excellent at it, but they enjoy playing the guitar. And some people decide they want to master the guitar, isn't it? It's a hobby, and we can take it in.
I went
in
to a
so
tournament in
many
a different game
directions.
system yesterday and lost all 3 games. I still had a wonderful time.
Now, talking of game systems, I did mention that there are these things called the Iron Manji rules, and that you've got a version out for the 2020 rule sets. You've started looking at how to tier things. So while we've got you on, and in a serious moment, let's talk to you about the meta in 2020. Because you're starting to see where you can put things. So where should things be? What do you think is getting undervalued, overvalued, and what are you looking at when you're starting to build tierings for rule sets?
I don't think it's changed a huge amount. And my reaction to my first reaction to the new rules is to do as little as possible, and then try and get data back. So trying to fix the problem before you've identified the problem is obviously not the best way of doing things. It's basically pretty much the same, I think. You just need to worry about things like Underworld. They've leapt up into a whole new stratosphere. Things like Nurgle have gone into the basement. I think they might actually be the worst team in the entire game now. Especially in a world where people are allowing stars for stunties and not for anyone else.
Yeah.
Things like that.
We're seeing halflings doing incredibly well. Do you think that's going to persist?
Yeah, absolutely. Morg is stupid. You could take 11 halflings and Morg, and that will win more than 50% of its games.
And what should Tree take with her goblins to the UKTC?
I will admit I've not spent any time thinking about goblins. So
I feel
you may be
betrayed.
surprised, but
It's simple. Take an hooligan with sneaky git. I'm convinced that's all you need. Everything else is just window dressing.
I think you're very right. Yeah. Some bribes and a biased referee, and that is probably good.
Hackflem. Is Hackflem the answer for goblins?
There's no stars out there in UKTC. Have I got this wrong? I thought there's no stars at all.
No,
even
none
though
at all, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Well, the NAFC you can. But are you going to the NAFC, Tree?
No. To be honest, like, it was what Glowworm was saying before about the team thing and the hugs and everything. Like, that is like, that's like, because I have done like one-person tournaments as well. Not many, but I've done a couple. And I think now I've done one-person tournaments and team tournaments. For me, because I don't have unlimited like weekends where I can go off and do this sort of thing. Like, I have to sort of plan them and I have to sort of work the time out for them. Like, I think I will always choose the team tournaments now, because to me that's just a much more fun way of playing Blood Bowl, because you go there and you just see your friends and have fun, and also like even the Blood Bowl part of it, like it's kind of nice like having other people care about your games and you care about their games, and actually like, because it can be quite lonely, Blood Bowl, and like it doesn't feel like that with team tournaments. It's nice.
Yeah, it's great. And of course, if you can get 3 people that are terrible at Blood Bowl, you can submarine, can't you? Where their losses drag you down to the bottom of the table, meaning you get easier games and you can get 6 wins. And it's fantastic for your stats. Just a little tip there. Obviously, nobody
I don't
does
think
that.
I'll be getting six games even on the bottom.
My first ever tournament win was exactly that strategy. Completely accidentally, I was put on a team of randoms, but it worked out that way.
Trust me, it happens, because I've thought of it and other people have thought of it. Someone is doing that. They are deliberately picking 3 terrible people. But that wouldn't be allowed in places like Squad Chaos. Let's talk about that. I am captaining a team of 3 people that have never played tabletop before. So just before, I do want to look at New Norse before we finish, so we will get to that. Just briefly, because everyone's talking about it and it doesn't particularly interest me, to be honest. I'm taking 3 never played on tabletop before, never played a team tournament before, never played NAF style before players to the UKTC. And they will be on the next One Blood Bowl, so we'll be doing this sort of wash-up session afterwards live on cam with full banter and blame. How you 3 are all on squads. You have different experiences of teams, from Joe Manji dominating the world with Team England to Glow being in charge of this huge behemoth that is the Squad Chaos, to Tree, who's been to the biggest and the best and is going up to the UKTC on a team. What do I do? How do I help these guys? Do I just leave them to it and smile? Do I encourage? I mean, someone asked me earlier for me to predict how Dimmy G is likely to do at the UKTC with 6 games of live Blood Bowl, when he's never sat and played a game of Blood Bowl with anyone ever in his life. And of course, he's used to chatting away to his chat. And I mean, Flicky Flack's going. I mean, it's. What do I do, Joe? What's your advice to me? How do I help these people?
When I was England captain, my tactics were the same as Simon's: hugs and alcohol.
Okay. Right. From 9 a.m. with the bacon roll, is that where we go?
Sure. Yep.
I feel like what you need for Dimmy is to have like a wrestling belt that you're standing there holding like his emoji. Like, you need to have someone next to him to just sort of hold up his belt.
Do we need to get perhaps Michelle, as his lovely partner, to send him a gif of her doing this, cheering him on, that he can just look at all day? Necro, what's your advice? How do I keep 3 noobs happy and gaming and not raging? Because they can't concede and turn it off. For you, Glow, your wisdom, your experience, how do I keep my team together and loved up and happy?
Etiquette. Remind them there's a certain etiquette to the game. Remind them that the person across from them is there to enjoy the game as much as they are.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and as long as they treat that person as long as they expect to be treated, they'll have fun and enjoy it. And what you'll find is, if they're new, somebody like me or somebody like Joe will sit across from them and they'll say, sorry, fella, you need to roll armour for that. Or you do realise that's a 4+, not a 3+. And you get a lot. I've seen a lot of experienced coaches coaching less experienced coaches instead of going for an easy win. And it happens in Blood Bowl tournaments all the time. Maybe not right on table 1 and table 2, around 5 and 6. But certainly, once they've done day 1, they'll be settled in and it'll be like they've been going to tournaments all their life. But the main thing about tournaments is etiquette. Treat your opponent with respect. And remember, they're there to enjoy the game and they've paid for the enjoyment of that game just as much as you have.
Yeah.
And they treat them how you want to be treated. And to be fair, they'll be absolutely fine. The Blood Bowling community is one of the most welcome, open, accepting communities that I've ever come across. And I've been gaming since the 80s, yeah, to put it into perspective. So, you know, they're going to be absolutely fine. If you've got any problems, fire them over to us. We'll throw them in Squad Chaos shirt and everybody else expects them to do what they're going to be doing anyway.
Tree, you've been on teams, you've been on big teams in stressful places for long periods of time. How do I keep these 3 men together and happy?
Have I been on big teams? I mean, everything that Glow I'm saying, I feel like Team Chaos, just Squad Chaos, seem to have all the right ideas for everything. Like the teams I played on, like at the World Cup, it was a team from the local league I play in, so it was all just people we knew quite well. I would say that the secret to us staying happy when all the systems fell over and they couldn't matchmake for like 3 hours and kept us in the conference room was having a copy of Sushi Go with us so we could play other games and keep ourselves amused in the meantime. But I don't have any more sort of clever answer than that. Just sort of spend time with your friends and be. Yeah.
I'd like to reinforce what Simon said, is that the Blood Bowl community is so friendly and nice.
Yeah, really
and
is.
I say that now, having, as I said, dabbled in other game systems over the last couple of years. It's night and day. It's really just a wonderful community and a wonderful space and just a wonderful group of people to be around. I have absolutely no problem whatsoever.
Yes, and I mean, if you are someone that's considering appearing on, going to a tabletop event, if you've never done it before, pop into my Discord or just about anybody else's, because really the entire community is so nice and so friendly that if you happen to talk to someone who isn't into tabletop, they'll know someone that is. They'll pass you on to someone that will give you the advice, will give you some help. You will turn up to your first one thinking this is going to be awful, I'll know no one and I won't fit in and they'll all laugh at me and I'm giving in to my inner nerd. And you'll have a great time because there's lots of other people that have been in exactly that situation, but a few years ago. Well, or you won't, but it's sometimes worth taking the chance. I think it's the reason I enjoy tabletop is exactly that. It's the people. It's not rinsing it for the wins. I mean, it's nice to be competitive sometimes, but sometimes it's just nice to go out, roll some dice, chat with people, have a beer afterwards, and be enjoying your Blood Bowl. Glow, come on in.
Can I just throw in here? I don't know if you guys have got chat up, but the amount of love that is pouring for Tree in chat is ridiculous. Honestly, I'm sure she's the nicest person in Blood Bowl. Dizzy Bess is on there. Tree will have loads of Game of Sushi Go next weekend. Yeah, the amount of love that is coming out for Tree is just phenomenal, and that sums up this community, this environment that we operate in. Whether it's Joe at the top end of the environment, Tree who's relatively new to tabletop, you coming along who's got some tabletop experience but bringing new guys, or me, the grizzled old veteran. Everybody, the amount of love that I see in this and the amount of help that people give to each other is just it warms my heart. It really does.
I'm not stupid, Glow. Why do you think I've got her here? I want her audience. It's enormous and growing. I'm not a fool. I've got to have a big draw on every time, and this time it's Tree. That's why we started there.
Ridiculous.
And you don't think that's Squad Chaos to her?
We're yesterday's news, Glow. We're yesterday's men. Look at us. I had my first piece of marketing from Saga.
If Tree's the future of Blood Bowl, then it's in good hands.
She certainly, I think. I mean, I've said this openly before to Tree behind her back, so I'm happy to say it again. I'm not sure. I think that might be. We all know the future of Blood Bowl is Thomas W., who I hope to have on a One World, One Blood Bowl in the future. But I think Tree, having exploded out of Rebel onto the scene, is a breath of fresh air. I think her channel is great. It's a really different atmosphere, a really relaxed, happy atmosphere. Most of the time, not always of the dice kind, and when they're not, obviously people get pissed at them. But you're not going to hear, I think, screaming rage. or the filth that you might hear on, for example, I'm a Serious Damn a Giraffe's channel. Very prone to a potty mouth over there. But I think it's...
Shout out to those. I wanted to give a shout out to that group because that's been really important to me as well in Bud Bowl. Like there is
Yeah.
a little group of other women who play Bud Bowl.
Yeah.
Dizzy Best is in chat. Serious Damn a Giraffe. Cauliflower, who doesn't stream but is amazing. We all have a podcast together called Hey Listen, which you should also check out. But like, there's also others as well beyond that, and like, it's been really fun finding that online because. Yeah, you don't immediately see it in a lot of Bud Bowl groups, but actually Football is not the most diverse game, but then lots of games aren't. But there are people of all different backgrounds, and there certainly are.
Absolutely, and there's no
Working to
reason for it
change
not to be. So yes, there is a
Yeah.
community that's always been attracted to the game, but there's no reason for that to stay that way, and there's no reason for it not to be opening and welcome to all sorts of other people. Talking about the podcast, and as I said, Miss Speltree also has a Twitch and a YouTube. The links to all of those will be, if you're watching on YouTube, they will be just below the video in the comments. If you're listening on Spotify, they'll be in the comments there. If you're watching this on live, they won't be, but you can find her obviously by clicking on her name. If you're watching this on a Twitch highlight, then again, in the About section, all of those links will be present. We'll drop all of those. And also, of course, I know Joe Manji puts a load of content out. There's all sorts of good stuff and thinking there of his that I'm sure we're going to be able to drop some links to. And also to the Squad Chaos stuff that obviously Glowworm has been talking about. So this is going to be a link-heavy show. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you can go and click on afterwards if you wish to. I do want to have a little look at New Norse, though, and then I think we're going to try and wrap up and see if there's anything we haven't covered that people from the chat want to talk to us about. If you cast your eyes upon the stream, we do, hopefully, a little more reliably this time, we can go and have a look at a little bit of stuff around the New Norse, and then just chat about them a little bit, see what anyone's takes on these are. So we had them released on the Warhammer community pages, of course. So you can go there and look at this yourself. There's a lovely video they've got showing off all sorts of stuff. I've chosen to stop it there on the new Valkyrie positional, which we know we're getting. So we're getting a female positional for Norse, which is fantastic. And also one that looks like she's playing Blood Bowl rather than appearing on a catwalk for some sort of lingerie firm. So that's something I've been passionate about for years. I think I wrote my first anti-Amazons in underwear blog over 10 years ago on Fumble. We also get a female line woman, so it's not just the positional player. They're going to be proper representation across the squad, which is great. This is the new Ulf Werner figure. I particularly like the wolf on the shoulder. He's a bit human for some tastes, but I quite like him. We get beer pigs, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a second. And that's just about all that Warhammer told us. That is the team box. You can see you actually get on the team box, which I do think is very positive. You get a full team, other than the Yeti, which we've already seen released by accident, supposed accident a few weeks ago. You get your 2 beer pigs. You get your 2 Valkyries in 2 poses. You get 6 line people, 2 berserkers, and 2 Ulfthurners. So you're pretty good to go with a single box. There are some interchangeable heads, but it is obviously 6 poses, as the classic Games Workshop plastic tends to be. There is, if you want to go and find it, plenty of other stuff out there about this, including that, which is the Jimmy Fantastic Norse reveal video, which is out on YouTube. Jimmy, I think, has got pretty close in terms of what he believes is going to be the new Norse roster. I think he's pretty right in that the Valkyries, I do think, are losing block. I wouldn't be surprised if, as well as Pass and Catch and Dauntless, they also get one other skill. Maybe something like Strip Ball, I think, would make sense there, but I don't think they're getting block. Other than that, I don't think there's a lot of changes. We've heard that maybe linemen, it's, they get their drunk skill, which means -1 on go for it. That the beer pigs are only 20k, that we know for a fact, because that was seemingly released by accident on the official Games Workshop stream. What they actually do, the rumour has it, there's a radius around them of about 3 squares, which allows people to jump up on a 5+ at the end of the opponent's turn. But other than that, New Norse don't look massively different. Anyone got anything to say about New Norse? Are you excited? Are you surprised? Did you think it was going to be Slanesh or Tzinch? Glow, were you interested at all?
Yeah, I quite like Norse. I quite like Norse as they were. So beer pigs, probably gimmicky, to be fair. Whether they'll have any real use on the pitch, if they're going to be strength 2, which is what they're rumoured to be, they're going to be quite fragile. But Games Workshop is a model company, not a game company. That's what they always say. And if this is a way for them to sell model, that's why they've done it. I have, of course, ordered 2 pigs already. I'll full disclosure on that.
Yes,
to go
other
with my
pigs are available. There are some other
are
makers
available, yeah.
that make pigs already.
Yeah. But yeah, I think they're great. I think that Games Workshop actually showing an interest in the hobby and pumping things into it is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. We were in the wilderness for a long time and we survived. And I can remember when everything that changed in the game was, the old guard where it's all broken, the game will never be the same. When Treemen on Halflings lost Loner, but they still cost the same as Treemen on a Wood Elf team. It was, oh no, that's broken the game. Things will never be the same. Yeah, and yet the game survives, and I think it'll survive this incarnation. I'll be interested to see once the rules come out. The problem is, rumors are rumors.
Yeah.
No matter how strong they are, they're not. We don't know. And so what'll happen is somebody will suggest a rumor that'll be enshrined in law because it's on the internet, and everybody will go, "Oh, I don't like that."
Gloke,
And
have you
they'll
not
instantly
met
make
the
a-
internet? That's literally what it's for. Is taking small, tiny bits of truth, blowing them up into hyperbole, and everyone getting cross about it. That's its job.
That's not what I use the internet for at all, to be fair. When you consider my favourite website is catsthatlooklikehitler.com, which is great for cheering the boring day. Yeah, and it's a website, you can look at it. But no, cat videos is what I'm on the internet for. Yeah, you didn't see it going in that direction, now did you,
I
folks?
didn't know we were going to Hitler tonight. No, I should have felt it, but I didn't somehow see that one coming. Joe, are you interested in New Norse? Are they going to be a power? Are we going to have pigs dominating?
I don't know about that. I mean, I can tell you that the models look pretty nice.
Yeah, they do.
I'm pretty happy with those.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're doing a good job on some, and they look a little bit more functional as well. Like I don't think we're going to have the Skaven tail problem with these. So yeah.
And people don't seem to be standing on one little pinky toe, which I know painters and modelers particularly love. No, I thought that really, really nice looking set of models. Tree, are you a Norse fan?
Norse is what I took to the Tabletop World Cup, and I loved them. But I love, to be fair, see, this is what I mean when I say I choose my teams in slightly weird ways, because I chose Norse for the World Cup because I wanted Boomer, and I was like, I can have Boomer and throw bombs. So now they haven't got Boomer anymore, it's less fun, but maybe they'll have something else. Maybe the bear pigs will be fun, I don't know.
All sorts of things are becoming less dead than they were, though. Perhaps Boomer will return.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But perhaps not for them, who knows? The stars have gone crazy. Stars have gone crazy, haven't they, Joe? We're not all mad.
No, they're absolutely ridiculous.
Good. And should be stopped.
Oh, if I had my way, yeah, they'd all be put into a plastic bag and thrown into the sea.
Now, we do have, I hope, a fifth person about to join us from chat and bring up anything that I've been missing, because I know chat's been zipping past. But bearing in mind who it is, I didn't really want to put my prediction out as to how I think Dimmy G will do at the UKTC. I thought New Norse were interesting. I think it's not a revolution, but I'm kind of with you in what we've collectively said. I think it's great that the game is moving forward, that we're getting new teams, that they don't seem to be coming in tiered above things, desperately trying to be ahead of us all. And I think, I think that bodes well. Now, we have a fifth joiner for the UKTC. It is Mr. Dimmy G. Dimmy, what's been happening down in chat whilst we've been chuntering on?
Quite a lot, to be fair. Like, there's a few bits and pieces being said and stuff. I want to say hello to all you lovely people first. Hello, Tree. Hello, Squad Chaos. And hello, Joe Manji. I've seen a lot of your stuff on YouTube, actually, to be fair.
It's fabulous. There will be links to some Joe Manji content to his YouTube and anywhere else he wants us to link you to, because there's some great Joe Manji content out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like with the NAF stuff and everything. So, to be fair, the first question, I don't want to come in here and be selfish, but the first question was from Volcajo, and he did say, how do you expect me to do at UKTC? So I don't know how.
All right, I've been thinking about it since then, Dimmy. How do I expect you to do, dude? I think of the four of us going, I don't think you'll end up board 4 at the end of day 2. And I think you should consider that a huge victory if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, I literally don't know what to expect. I don't know what to expect. And like the
And
thing
I
is,
think
like,
as a squad, I want us to try and be competitive enough to finish in the top half. I think that might be achievable, but it depends very much how the first couple of games go. You've all got the quality. You've all got the quality. It's whether you can get the groove of the tabletop. As Joe said, by day 2 it'll be fine. So it's how we ride through that day 1. Do we put ourselves in a position day 2 to make that dream come true?
yeah, absolutely.
That's what I think. Tree, how's Dimmy going to do at the UKTC?
I think Dimmy's going to do great. Dimmy knows how to play Blood Bowl. He's going to win some games. He's going to have a good time.
Glow, do you have faith in Dimmy G? He's a Twitch streamer and lovely young man. I don't know if you've ever been aware of him before. How's he going to do at the UKTC? He's never rolled a dice in his life. Never played tabletop.
I've watched a few of his Twitch streams. He's an impressive young man. I would say he's probably going to get drunk and fall off his chair.
Probably.
That's what chat thinks. Is Timmy going to get drunk and fall off a chair? Yeah.
I
We're
hope
not
the
gonna-
chairs. What are the chairs like at UKTC? Just quietly.
They're small and very wobbly.
Oh no.
I have no idea. I think he'll be fine. There's a lot of streamers coming over to tabletop.
Yeah.
Being an obvious example. What's his name? Rick Reckless. Another streamer that's transitioned to tabletop, and they generally do really well. So yeah, it's the mechanics are the same. It's just remembering things like, you have to roll your dice for armor because obviously the client doesn't do that for you on tabletop. You are the client.
Yeah.
But yeah, as long as he remembers that, and like I say, if he's playing against anybody who's even half decent, they'll be like, "Yeah, don't forget you need to do this, mate." He'll be fine. I'd like to think he'll finish above me.
Joe Manji, how's Dimmy G going to do at the UKTC?
Well, the answer to that question is, will he be joining us in Pop World on the Saturday night? And if the answer is yes, then he will have succeeded. And if it's no, then that will be a failure for the weekend.
I've never yet ended up in Pop World. But
Well,
last
then
time we
you
ended
can
up
get me there.
in a ridiculous pub that we had. I forget the name, but it was a name from some late 70s song. We thought, oh great, that'll be fine for us then. We all went in and it was full of 16-year-olds and it was ironic. And they looked around as if their dads had walked in, and we genuinely could have been. And it felt creepy to even order a drink in there. It was horrific. And I so wished I'd gone to Pop World and just revelled in the awfulness of it. So this time, if I'm out on the Saturday night,
Yeah.
Pop
You
World
can't
it
go
is.
to a real club because there
No.
will actually be young
Yes.
people there.
Yeah, there will. And they will be embarrassed and horrified by our existence.
Yeah.
Are you out on
Well,
Saturday night, Tree? Are you off to Taiwan on York?
No idea. I haven't been out in York before, but I will be hanging out with friends wherever my friends are. So
Take away Yorkshire in one hand, ticket to Pop World in the other. That's the secret to success.
I'm not ruling it out. But I also, over the course of the lockdown of the last 2 years, I've become just a total lightweight. So it's a very serious risk. If I have anything to drink, I'll be falling over and carted off back to bed at 9 p.m.
I know what you mean. I'm an absolute stranger to alcohol. I'd never touch it. Dimmy, anything else from us for Chad?
I actually wanted to ask Glowworm if anyone in Squad Chaos actually plays Chaos. That was,
Yeah. We've got one of our captains, Widram, is taking Nurgle,
cool.
which is obviously one of the Chaos. We've got a couple of Khorne players. We've got some Chaos Dwarf players. So they either play Chaos as a team or they play in a chaotic manner. I think we can answer that one. We do have several Chaos players, obviously spread amongst the multitude that were descending upon York, and I'm sure they'll all do very well, or enjoyably, more importantly.
Someone else has just asked in chat if the UKTC is always in York. It always has been. I don't know if it's necessarily wedded to it, but I think the guy that organises it is York. It always used to be in January, but due to COVID, obviously that's a terrible time for COVID, and it got cancelled a couple of times and then moved to the April slot, which has seen the prices to stay in York go up. They were incredibly cheap just after New Year in January. No one wants to go to York on like the 10th of January, so we all did. But in April, it seems people do want to go to York, rather annoyingly. So who knows in the future, but it has always been in York to date. But this is by far the biggest. There were 90 spaces for teams, which is over twice the size of the last one. So it is enormous and a hugely growing event, and much loved by everyone that goes. Anything else, Dimmy?
I wanted to ask Joe Mungie, like, how do you write a rule set? Like, because obviously you mentioned he writes rule sets.
Okay, let's go back there. I thought we didn't do enough on that. How do you sit down and say, here's where things should be, Joe?
So the Iron Man's rule set, the way I wrote that was I wanted every team to be able to play in the way that in its style, rather than necessarily try and balance them for strength. So my dream, or the team that I designed it around, was Nurgle, and I wanted them to be able to take like loads of tentacle people and things like that, and actually like play in a unique Nurgle way, whilst also balancing it around the power at the top as well. So it wasn't just a case of, oh, I'm just trying to make everybody have a 50% win rate. It was trying to make teams play with their character as well. But then the NAF Championship, which is another one I did, it was just boring. 6 skills, vanilla, everybody gets the same. And that was just from a competitive point of view, which was because Blood Bowl was designed to not have tiers. There are deliberately bad teams, and obviously people want to tier, and that's fine, and I don't have a problem with that. But also you can not do it because that's how it was originally designed to be played. Like goblins are meant to be bad, and that's for people who want to have fun playing a bad team. It's not. You can have a tournament where goblins are meant to be good, but there should also be a space somewhere for goblins to be bad as they are intended to be.
So at the NAFC, as you've said, I think that is the case this time, isn't it? Just 6+1 for everything.
Yeah, I think so.
Are we finally going to get some good stats we can have a look at with a lot of games played, with a lot of different races, and actually see what is where without, as you said, just flat across?
Yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, I think one of the small reasons that obviously I speak to the guys who run it, and that's one of the things they're interested in as well. So that'd be good. I mean, it's still a small sample set, but it's something.
But data guys always want bigger, don't they?
Yeah. We'll never get enough.
And you can
data
do
to
your
get
own jokes. I'm not doing them. It's too easy. It's too wide open a goal. So yes, data guys, they always want it bigger. What should I take to the NAFC then? Because I'm going there. What's going to win that?
anything from the Big Four.
Still Wood Elves? They're getting caned.
No, they're fine. They're absolutely fine. No good Wood Elf player ever leaps anyway, so that's the only thing that's changed.
Ooh, tree.
The only thing that's changed. I haven't played them in new rules, so like I can completely see that I might be wrong about them being worse. But that's not the only thing that's changed. Players are more expensive, and you've lost sprint on the catches, which I feel like, especially like in the new environment, one turning seems much better. So losing that sprint is quite a big deal.
He said only good players. They never leap, he said. He said good players never leap. That's what he said.
Sometimes you need to limit your leaping, but sometimes you leap.
So Woodies are fine. Darkies are fine. Are they? They can't throw it.
Darkies are great. I think Darkies. What Tree said about the prices going up is absolutely true, but everything went up and everybody's got 5k more. So what happened in tournaments is it used to be 1/110, now it's 1/15. So the price changes are a wash. But that's why Dark Elves are so good, because the prices didn't go up, but they're getting 5k extra, which every other team is using to spend on the price increases, and they're just spending on stuff they want.
So another reroll or an Apo or something.
Yeah. Dark Elves, my prediction was Dark Elves would be the best team in the game significantly, but Sneaky Git has happened, and they do not like that.
Yeah, but lizards can get a nice easy Sneaky Git on one of their skinks, can't they? Surely lizards are now the dominant powerhouse then. Claws, not to be worried about.
Yeah.
You get chameleon skinks that start with on the ball, which is almost a decent skill now that it's pass block and kick-off return added together. And of course, you get really good access to Sneaky Git, which is the new must-have skill, isn't it?
That is certainly the opinion of some people. Yes.
Oh, I sense not necessarily the opinion of Joe Mangie.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's the right fit on every team. I wouldn't be taking it on lizards. There are some teams it's amazing on, like Amazons, for example. Like you've got a bench, you've got nothing to spend that last skill on. Brilliant, perfect. Lizardmen, I think, are a little bit fragile. You don't want to be giving away players. And I've seen people taking it on Wood Elves and Dark Elves as well, which to me is disastrous, because Dark Elves, if you've got 10 players, you win the game. It's as simple as that. Like, they're just so good. The only thing you lose the game with is losing players, so you never want to be trading players. Like, you don't want to be You just want to keep your player on the pitch and win the game.
But with sneaky git, I'm not losing player. I'm kicking people for free and then running away afterwards, going ha 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 ha.
I know that's what people think happens, but that's not actually what the skill says.
You're bringing boring facts to this, aren't you?
I'm sorry. I'm ruining the mood.
Dimmy, let me bring you back in. What else have you got for me, my friend?
I've got like two more questions really. So I've got to ask this one quickly before I ask the last one. So well, Norton asked me to ask Joe what the top 4 are. I'm assuming it's Lizardmen, Dark Elves, Wood Elves, and Undead. Is that
Yes.
the top 4? Yeah. Okay.
Right, so just let's pause there for a second. Dimmy's taking Undead to the UKTC. What should he be taking on them? Has that changed? Has the meta changed at all on Undead?
Well, Undead are always a fun team because you actually get a choice. You actually get to pick a play style with Undead. But your choice is like, do you want to be more bashy? You basically think about what you don't like facing. So if you don't like facing bash people, take more guard. If you don't like facing elves, take more toolbox skills like wrestle and tackle, things like that. So just like start with 1 guard and 1 block ghoul, and then fill the rest out with wrestle, ghoul, tackle, white, guard everywhere. It's your choice, really.
Anything on the mummies for you?
Yeah, I like guard on the mummies. I think that's good.
Okay.
Usually, if I'm going to have 2 guard, I'll have 1 on each. 1 guard white, 1 guard a mummy, just so you've got both options.
Okay then, so there we are, Dimmy, some advice for you. Let's come to the final thing Dimmy has for us.
Okay, the final question was, what are you guys all looking forward to the most this coming weekend at UKTC?
Ooh, let's start with Joe. Joe, well, I mean, we've already heard from you, I think, what you're going to say here, so I think this may be a recap. What is your big hope? What are you looking forward to this weekend at the UKTC? Great question. Thank you, Tim.
Pop World.
The Saturday night sad ritual that is Pop World.
No, it's seeing my friends, basically. Like, I haven't seen Indigo for years because of the COVID situation, so it's just going to be really nice just to see people in real life and spend some time with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Friday night is lovely as well as the Saturday night. It's a real social event, the UKTC. Globe, what are you looking forward to up at the UKTC?
Six squad chaos teams being there,
Yeah.
spreading the word and giving out hugs.
Just getting it done, having some time together as a big chunk of squad chaos loveliness.
I've not been back to York for a long time. I was born just outside York, and I've not been back there for various reasons for a long time. So it's one of the few reasons I'd ever go back to that part of the world. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, no, it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. Catching up with a lot of the guys, meeting people I've not met before. It's going to be great. Big tournaments, like I say, big tournaments are a step up from anything that you experience. So yeah, just meeting everybody. It'd be nice to meet Dimmy. Watching fall off a chair, apparently.
It's a skill he has perfected. I've told him to monetize it. Twitch actually did an advert for Twitch, and one of the first clips they had was one of their streamers falling off a chair, and I thought, we've got that in Blood Bowl. Why did they not bring Dimmy up for it?
Got like 1,500 views, that clip.
That has.
Yeah.
It is genuinely, there's a clip where he's just fell asleep one night. There may have been some fueling of that state.
Oh dear.
And he fell off his chair, and it is very funny. But it's got more views than anything else that's ever happened on Twitch in to do with Blood Bowl, because people love suffering and being cruel. And we should all ask ourselves why that is. Okay, Tree, what are you looking forward to up at the UKTC?
It's funny, Guy, talking about being there in many years ago. The last time I was in York, I think, was when I was at uni. I dated someone who was from Bridlington. And when I went to visit, we had a night out in York. And that feels like this chaotic, long time ago memory that's going to be flashbacks of. Didn't end well, that one. I'm looking forward to meeting everyone. I really, really am. Looking forward to meeting all of you guys now. I'm looking forward to hugs with Squad Chaos. But I have to admit, I'm particularly looking forward to meeting my Hey Listen girls, because I've met Giraffe in real life. I haven't actually met Cauliflower or Dizzy Bess in person yet, so I can't wait to see them hang out.
Yes, I mean, I can only second. I'm not looking forward necessarily to meeting the Hey Listen podcast girls. That would be a very weird thing for me to say, but that I think York is a beautiful city. It's one of my favourite parts of England. My partner is from overseas, and if she has relatives come over, it's one of the cities I always try and send them to, because I think there's loads of history, there's loads to do there. It is absolutely stunning, and it's a really warm, welcoming city with stunning architecture and beautiful, beautiful views just in every direction. And if you're a rail enthusiast, also a centre for the rail industry. What am I looking forward to at the UKTC? I have a pint of beer bet with Corn Knight as to who has the best story from the first day. I obviously have Necronome and Hancock and Dimmy, so numbers are definitely on my side. But Corn Knight is captaining a team involving Flicky Flack, so he is bringing strong foo to who has the best story for the Saturday evening pint of beer. So we're going to see. I'm hoping that my guys don't give me anything to go on at all. There's 3 beautiful games of Blood Bowl, and none of them gets a tall cross. We'll see. What am I really outside of that? What am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to just getting out of the house, going playing some Blood Bowl, testing out. It'll be the first time I played Dwarves in the 2020 rule set. I think that's going to be exciting. And just, seeing the whole of the Blood Bowl community and just feeling a part of a hobby that I enjoy doing again, as well as just someone sat in a room talking about it whilst clicking things. It's different. It feels slightly different. Dimmy, that was, I believe, your list of things you wanted to come on and say.
Yeah, basically that's basically what I got from the chat. And
Excellent. Thank you for refreshing us, my friend. I will see you in a week for the UKTC, and in 2 weeks, Dimmy will be the star of One World, One Blood Bowl, when we will have also Hancock and Necronome, and we will be picking apart the team's performance at the UKTC, cultural learnings for the 2K UKTC for Make Betterment the Good of Blood Bowl. That will be the title of the next One World, One Blood Bowl. Until then, that has been us. So I always get grief over my long outro, so I'm not going to do one tonight. I'm just going to say goodbye, and we're going to stop there. Night-night.